Come to the South, do some dumb shit, get smoked, and next thing you know, everybody looking around. They got all the guns in the South, bro. They do. They laws is different. They do. Shit, Texas got defensive property. You breaking my car, I get to shoot you.
Come to the South, smoke, and do some stupid. Before you know it, everyone is staring at you. They have every gun in the South, dude. They do. The laws are not the same. They do. Texas received defense property. I get to shoot you because you broke my automobile. They are not found anywhere else. Long before he was purportedly caught slipping in Texas last night, Little Tim was already one of the most despised names associated with Chicago. Since 2020, there has been constant anxiety surrounding his name, and the streets have been locked in anticipation of this moment. King Von died at that point. Following that, Tim was charged with engaging in excessive internet trolling, acting carelessly, and adding petrol to an already chaotic scenario. The internet certainly didn't overlook it, and people didn't forget. Famlaw Tim, whose true name is Timothy Leaks, is a street guy from Savannah, Georgia, who somehow rose to the position of public enemy number one among devoted King Von loyalists and a large portion of Chicago. He wasn't even meant to be there. However, you already know that disaster can come quickly when you follow Quando Rondo. He was toughly raised by Savannah. No shortcuts. There's no safety net down there. The guidelines are straightforward. Be firm or allow yourself to be shoved. And Tim discovered that at a young age. Tim was known in his neighborhood for his ability to persevere under duress. He was renowned for his ability to remain composed under pressure and for standing his ground no matter how difficult things became. He was perceived by those in his immediate vicinity as a man who would rather confront the worst than pretend to be afraid or submit, and he was always accompanied by that vision. After joining Quando Rondo's group, Tim became the go-to guardian, constantly vigilant, always prepared, constantly prioritizing his people above all else. Quando's identity was already entangled in a number of street problems, particularly after the NBA YoungBoy crisis erupted. Therefore, he needed someone reliable like Tim close by. However, on the 6th of November 2020, outside Atlanta's Monaco Hookah Lounge, everything changed. One choice made that evening is said to have put Tim in the public eye forever and attracted criticism from one of Chicago's riskiest neighborhoods. What was supposed to be an ordinary evening became a momentous occasion. The crazy thing is that at the time, Tim probably had no idea who King Von actually was. He simply witnessed his friend Quando being pressed, and he responded as a devoted soldier would, intervening to defend his people. Without hesitation, however, Tim unintentionally started a full-fledged conflict with one of Chicago's most dreaded crews by intervening that evening. There is far more hostility between Little Tim and OBlock than just that one incident in Atlanta. Absolutely no exaggeration. Due to the ongoing problems between Quando Rondo and King Von's circle, this situation was already boiling, and before anything blew up, that energy had been building for months. Each and every interaction, the air became heavier and denser with each mention. King Von was more than just a popular rapper. Raised in that setting with Chief Keef and Lil Durk, he was OBlock royalty. That uncommon combination was what set Von apart. Actual success in music combined with actual street respect. He was living it, not just talking about it. People were aware of that. Through his music, Von was making a significant amount of money, while maintaining a reputation that made even tough guys hesitate. Thus, when Tim purportedly took, it wasn't seen as just another defeat outside the hookah lounge. In a matter of seconds, 20 blocked their golden kid, their greatest hope, and their money ticket was gone. Yes, Sean and Rick, rapper King Von and his friends, reportedly visited Opium nightclub before traveling to Monaco Hookah Lounge and the parking lot, where mayhem broke out, according to GBI. In addition, King Von was viewed as both a significant character and a protector, because Von stood for their pride, their hard work, and everything they stood for. The entire block was deeply affected by that loss. He was more than simply a rapper to them. He represented both their origins and their future. The foundation was rocked by his loss, and the anguish never went away. People associated with OBlock have been publicly focused on exacting revenge ever since. It was never acceptable to overlook something like that, especially when Von was involved. Street politics was no longer the only aspect of this. This quickly became personal. Talk gave way to action, and the pressure never decreased. What truly demonstrated how serious what transpired in 2022 was what happened. Tim was detained in Atlanta for a different incident involving a stolen car after authorities linked 3 OBlock members to an alleged attempt to find him. The severity of the issue became evident at that point. This was not noise from the internet. It was said that people were risking everything because they were devoted. They refused to back down or chill out, and their tenacity has been the driving force behind this scenario ever since. Little Tim supposedly continued to troll non-stop after that night rather than keeping quiet like most people, which is what really set things off. Most people would vanish following an occurrence involving someone as revered as King Von. Tim, however, took the exact opposite action. He leaned into the mayhem, playing music that seemed to make fun of Von's death and publicly mocking what he claimed were OBlock's unsuccessful attempts to get in touch with him. Many onlookers were taken aback by that degree of audacity. Tim's lyrics sounded like pure joy rather than self-explanation or subdued movement. He was laughing off the tension and turning his acts into punchlines rather than just sticking by them, remaining unaffected by the criticism. OBlock was affected differently by that type of energy since it felt more intimate than protective. At gatherings and online, he even brought up the Atlanta night, dismissing any discussion of repercussions as unimportant. Disrespect of that kind never goes away. It adds up. Every time, the use of King Von's passing as a recurring wordplay in songs and subtitles advanced the plot. Tim made it obvious that he wasn't backing down by posting even though he knew it would cause a response. The constant mocking was the main factor that kept things heated and made it impossible to disregard. What has been truly driving OBlock crazy is this constant trolling. Explaining yourself after a circumstance is one thing, but continuously prodding the bear with posts and music is quite another. Tim has been behaving as though King Von's passing is a badge of honor, and that's just what drove feelings over the edge. It was more than just disrespect to them. It was like outright mockery. OBlock's associates have demonstrated that they are prepared to take any and all risks in order to apprehend him. Tim's actions are determined from a survival perspective. He makes it more difficult for people to walk silently around him by remaining loud and noticeable. However, such a tactic continues to exacerbate an already explosive circumstance. The depth of this was made evident via the streets and the internet. Supporters of King Von have been keeping a close eye on the situation and waiting for answers. It's clear that this tension never subsided because every new diss track or clever post provokes comment sections full of cautions and predictions. It continued to climb. However, fans weren't the only ones picking sides. Rappers began to cue as well. Lil Durk, who was viewed by many as King Von's elder brother, started taking direct, subtle jabs at Tim and Quando Rondo's group. Even without names being mentioned, words from songs like Piss Me Off and Backdoor were instantly recognizable to everyone. Those warnings were not at all ignored in Chicago. Slowly, Tim was viewed as someone no one wanted in the Chicago rap scene. Because Van's respect extended well beyond OBlock, artists who typically remain impartial made it evident that they supported his memory. Von was loved by everyone in the city. Not only one block. In the meantime, Tim continued to receive support from Georgians and some NBA YoungBoy fans who perceived this as a part of a wider divide in the industry. However, he was still under pressure despite that support. This became a scenario of constant observation thanks to social media. Fans were searching for hints in every song drop, post, and caption. The entire hip-hop community seemed to be watching in real time, anticipating the next move. Then everything blew up yesterday night. After rumors circulated online that Tim had been shot several times while slipping in Texas, the street began to buzz. Rumors that those close to OBlock had finally caught up with him erupted on social media, instantly sending shockwaves across the internet. The news arrived on the timeline in a completely chaotic manner. It all began with a single tweet that appeared authoritative enough to trick people, and it quickly went viral. The story seemed so plausible that no one bothered to confirm anything. Tim had been moving between states, and Texas seemed like a place where that kind of thing could actually occur. Almost immediately, King Von's supporters went into full celebration mode. Van's music was being blasted, old photos were being shared, and others were saying that justice had finally been served. Online, the story quickly changed. People said that after years of apparent contempt for Van's name, Tim finally faced penalties, and Von received his retribution from beyond. The specifics became increasingly bizarre as the rumors spread. According to several reports, he was apprehended outside a club. It happened at a petrol station, according to others. Some even included dramatic embellishments, such as a King Von song that was purportedly playing at the time, making it seem like poetic justice. By then, everyone on the streets and online was certain that OBlock had accomplished their goal. Everywhere, fans were cheering and posting "Long live King Von" as if it were official. Some responses went too far, demonstrating the intensity of people's emotions. However, social media moves quickly, and the truth typically takes a back seat when online hoopla and street anecdotes collide. Every time a dramatic story appears on the internet, especially when it seems like justice has finally been served. Generally speaking, though, if anything seems too ideal, it's generally not real. The biggest warning sign was straightforward. There was absolutely nothing being reported by any major news outlets. Nevertheless, others continued to use it until Tim abruptly reappeared on Twitter with a single, basic hat emoji. That was clear to anyone familiar with street-coded social media. Tim used the emoji to indicate that he was still alive and that the rumors were untrue. He completely changed the story with a single post, dashing the dreams of many King Von followers who believed that the end was finally in sight. As it turned out, the whole thing was the result of a phony account seeking attention. The Texas shooting tale was created by a random page, and it quickly gained traction because people wanted to be accurate. People didn't question the account because it had a convincing bio and profile and appeared sufficiently official. This is a prime illustration of the perilous nature of social media when it combines online enthusiasm with real-world problems. False information spreads more quickly than the truth, which can harm actual individuals. Things may have quickly gotten out of hand if someone had responded to that false information. In real life, chasing rumors isn't simply messy. It's simply dangerous. Tim loudly communicated to everyone that he is still alive, active, and unwavering by dropping that hat emoji. It was more than a status update. It served as an additional troll targeted directly at his adversaries. It was an obvious message. He remains unaffected, even when others believe they have him contained. It was made much more bizarre by the timing. He waited long enough for the rumor to blow up before emerging and quickly putting an end to it. When the false narrative fell apart, it revealed how emotionally trapped people actually are. Many of King Von's supporters became enraged when they realized they had been drawn into a rumor that had no supporting evidence. Some even acknowledged that they had deceived themselves by accepting it too quickly. Just that response demonstrated how deeply this issue still affects people. The psychological aspect of this entire struggle is what truly sticks out. Tim has spent years engaging in psychological chess. That moment of bogus news was only one more layer. He keeps OBlock thinking about him all the time by remaining loud and noticeable. Every song, message, and public action serves as a reminder. While Van's legacy lives on, he is still out there and moving, hang over everything. People may act desperately as a result of such psychological strain. However, Tim's approach is extremely dangerous, since it keeps him completely in the spotlight rather than going away like most people would. When someone gets so entangled in a beef, they typically attempt to disappear and start over somewhere else. Tim has been acting in the complete opposite manner. He is well aware that every song, post, and action makes him an even greater target. The false news incident demonstrated how engrossed everyone is in this drama. Thousands of admirers. People's genuine emotional investment is demonstrated by their instant belief in the story and celebration of it. This isn't merely a passing interest. People are experiencing every twist and turn of this beef. Members of OBlock probably also viewed the false information. Additionally, it most likely served as a reminder that the streets are still keeping an eye on them and waiting for them to act. Their block is not the only source of pressure to honor Vaughn. Fans are watching from all across the world. The truth is that little Tim and OBlock's conflict won't end anytime soon. Tim's been traveling wisely, changing states, and maintaining strict security. However, the 2020 OBlock energy is still present and poses a threat. They're not going to give up until they get their comeuppance. The stakes are bigger than ever now that everything is public. Street feuds typically remain confined to the streets, but this story has been unfolding live on the internet and in rap songs. It's like adding petrol to an already raging fire every time Tim posts something offensive or drops a disc. The false information that he was shot just served to highlight how eager everyone is for the tale to reach a peak. OBlock members have been waiting for their opportunity to take action, while King Von's supporters have been ravenous for justice. Everyone involved is in greater danger the longer this goes on. After avoiding them for so long, Tim may feel untouchable, but neither OBlock nor the streets have forgotten. They're still thinking about what happened to Vaughn, and they won't let it go. It's inevitable that something significant will occur. When it does, it won't be a rumor circulating on Twitter. OBlock members aren't playing games. as seen by their willingness to risk going to jail back in 2022. They are prepared to take action and will not tolerate Tim's continued contempt for Van's legacy without taking severe measures. The streets are observing every action, and the stress is genuine. In the end, this entire story is a prime illustration of how street feuds can get out of hand. What began as a single altercation outside a hookah lounge has escalated into a year-long conflict that is being witnessed by everyone. Although little Tim may have survived the false information from last night, the actual threat is still very serious, very much alive. The fact that thousands of people thought he had been shot right away demonstrates how tense the streets and supporters are still. Members of OBlock have been attempting to exact revenge in order to fill the vacuum left by King Van's passing. Additionally, Tim's constant trolling exacerbates the situation. The truth is obvious, regardless of whether he truly believes he is untouchable or is merely acting that way. Such conflicts seldom come to a peaceful conclusion. OBlock is too devoted to Vaughn and too proud to ever overlook this. Additionally, Tim has too much pride to stop insulting and silently disappear. Everyone is aware that the story isn't over, and the streets have been observing every action for years. Tim may use as many hat emojis as he likes, but that won't make him any less of a target. There is no sign that the tension will ease anytime soon. OBlock never forgets their slain soldier, one of their own. Therefore, the anxiety is still very intense. Even though the story from last night was made up, Tim may be laughing right now. But after the smoke clears in the streets, whoever is still standing generally gets the last laugh. As of right now, there is still a lot of animosity between the two groups. Since 2020, the streets have been anticipating this moment. Even if last night was only a rumor, it shows that everyone in the hip-hop world will be watching when the real action takes place. OBlock hasn't moved on, so little Tim needs to keep an eye on things till then. Furthermore, phony Twitter posts won't put a stop to this feud. Everyone is aware that closing this chapter will require something genuine. Join the Rap Uncovered family immediately if you want to follow every development in this story. The streets never sleep, and we're only getting started, so turn on notifications and subscribe. Every day, we release heat. Additionally, tomorrow's upload will be even more bizarre, in-depth, and unmissable. Click like, send the video to all of your friends, and leave a comment with your thoughts. We'll see you here at Rap Uncovered in the upcoming one, where the reality of the lives on the streets.